Hi guys, Melissa here. Welcome back to my channel. And this is going to be a hard video. I just wanted to sit and talk with you guys about some stuff that's going on with me, kind of a life update kind of a thing. And instead of a lot of people asking me the same question, I figured it's just easier to go over it all in a video. Because it's hard to talk about over and over and over. So as much as I appreciate people's care and concern, it's just hard. So I figured let's just do it all in a video. In a way, it's like, oh gosh, then it goes out to the whole world, but whatever. I've always been the type of person to kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I kind of take after one of my personal heroes, Steve Irwin. One of the things that I loved the most about him was he put himself out there. He was raw, he was genuine, he was authentic, and he's one of my favorite people that ever existed. I just loved everything about him. I loved his enthusiasm, I loved his passion. I love that I felt like he was always taking me on adventures in a really rough time in my life. I was in an emotionally, every once in a blue moon, not very often, mostly emotionally abusive marriage to my ex. And yeah, to a point that, let's just be really real. One example, I don't talk about a whole lot of it, but because that was then and this is now, and I'm over it. But like one example was I couldn't be with him. He was a narcissist. He loved gaslighting, making me feel like I was crazy and I wasn't. He was a cheater, cheated on me so many times it's not even funny. Told me I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't skinny, and at 113 pounds, I wasn't skinny enough, I wasn't pretty enough, no one would want me. Believed him. So it was unbearable to be with him. But then when I would try to escape, he would do things like handcuff my daughter, who was 5 in kindergarten at the time. Handcuffed her in a car, in a rental car, and took off on a high-speed police chase because I was at the time staying with my parents. He had Christmas, what do you call it? Like visitation. And yeah, she was sleeping, left his 8-year-old home alone, sleeping. He came over to my parents' house, the door was locked, I had a PFA, and he tried to get one of us to come out. My dad called the cops, not me, my dad, and took off on a high-speed police chase with my daughter handcuffed inside. So I guess his plan was to commit suicide or whatever. And his dump truck he had filled with rocks, but he didn't want me to run off with Cassie till I was ready, or till he was ready. Anyways. Yeah, stuff like that when I would try to leave, so it felt like leaving was worse consequences than staying, so you end up staying to prevent harm to others, but yet it's unbearable, and so I lost count how many times I tried to commit suicide, and God stepped in and miraculously rescued me every time. So that's dark, sorry. Anyways, see, that's, you guys, you don't know what someone else is going through. I guess my point of this video, grab a drink, grab a couple tissues, there's some sadness. I feel a little emotional, so I'm pretty sure I'll cry a little bit. But I had someone reach out to me in an email, and I'm glad that they did. They were kind about it, but they had let me know that my video with the Scentsy spoilers, that they couldn't finish watching it. And they normally really like my videos, but I was very negative towards Scentsy. And they really love Scentsy, and it was hard for them to see me be so negative. But I guess my point of this video is and I had some people comment too. But my point is, you don't know what someone's going through in their life. Just because they don't share every detail with you and you don't know doesn't give you a right to say things like you want some cheese with that wine. You know, you guys just kind of be kind. Like, whatever, I will take some cheese with my wine. It's fine. I was whining. I took it a little more to heart than I normally do. But let me just share with you some of the series of events. In January, the bank that I work for made a decision because we weren't doing as well as and they were afraid for our bank. They made a decision to cut 10% of the workforce for the bank. And before that, our CEO had died suddenly of a heart attack, and it had nothing to do with the new guy coming in. It was a decision that they made previously. He just followed through with that decision because financially we weren't doing as well, and they were concerned. But the hard part was that they didn't tell any of us ahead of time. They didn't prep any of us. So we went in that day. You guys, this is traumatic. A year ago in December, Dale lost his job just like that. And almost, retirement age, they just up and decided to let him go. And he's the main supporter of our home, and that was frightening. So that in January, sorry, my washing machine, it's not level, and it kind of makes, it's not always completely level. It makes the pipe shake. So if you hear that, I'm sorry, it's an old house. The pipes kind of rattle when it's going. So we walk in there, and all of a sudden, people were quiet that day. Normally you hear people talking and stuff. It was really quiet that day. And you're watching as they're as discreetly as people are coming to get people, they go downstairs and they don't come back. HR is downstairs. And you're like, what is going on? And then sometimes people would text another coworker that they were friends with, and they'd be like, the bank just let me go. And you're like, what is happening? And it was constant that day, all day long. And they had bank security people at the doors. They wouldn't, making sure that we all scanned our fobs. You couldn't let someone else in the door like we normally do, which we probably shouldn't do that. But, if you recognize a coworker, you're going to let them in, just to be polite, especially if their hands are full. It was so weird. They locked the doors, which they're normally locked, but we used to be able to come in and out of the cafe. You couldn't do that anymore. It was just a bizarre day where people were disappearing, and we lost one of our people in our department. Every department had so many people go. Luckily, ours was very small, and we only had one. And that was a very emotional day, and you were scared. You were scared. You're grateful that you made the cut, but you're scared. People that you care about just gone, Now, granted, the bank was very amazing, and they gave people severance packages and all that stuff. They gave people money for, COBRA insurance. It's not like they were totally ruthless, even though it felt that way. Well, 2 months ago, I had a friend get let go. After that 10%, the big managers came in and talked to all the departments and said, okay, we're sorry. This is what we had to do. It was kind of a bleed that, you've got to stop the bleeding, and you just got to release people to up your profitability and, so that we all have a job. It's just something we had to do, but that's it. There's no more cuts coming. Well, then 2 months ago, I had a friend tell me that the bank let her go. And I've worked with her almost the whole time that I've been at the bank. I got there maybe a year before her. She's a hard worker, and she's a really great person. And just her department let like 6 people go, I think. And I was like, what? And then you start to panic again. Like, is it going to happen to all of us? Like, are we in jeopardy? And then a month ago, I had another friend that I'd worked with in my former department. She had gone to another department, so did I. And she got let go. from a department we didn't even expect people to be let go, and there's like 5 people let go. 5, yeah. And you're like, what is happening? Like, and I mean, I had a great talk with my manager about how they don't, you know, see, we can't possibly, I mean, it's stressful to do the work that, you know, we could use the other person. It's stressful trying to keep up. And then if one of us is on vacation or sick, or 2 of us, you know, it gets hard. But we, you know, we keep each other going. But, you know, she said, don't worry, we're not, our department is not looking for anything like that anytime soon. And that's stressful when you go in there and you're afraid, you know, are they, you know, how long am I going to have a job? So I've got that going on. And then probably a month ago, my mother, who I've not talked to in 5 years, and she's quite happy with that. She's a very narcissistic, prideful woman. And I told her the series of things that she had done that had hurt me, and I'd had enough. I was, you know, until you can apologize. And I'll give you an example, you guys. It's not just I don't get along with my mom. It's things like she told me that when I was little, and I remember my entire huge fish tank, huge, I can't even estimate, 50-gallon fish tank. It was huge. It was longer than my table, my kitchen table. It was huge, and it was full of fish. And I loved that fish tank so much. And she let me know that she poured bleach in that water and killed that entire fish tank multiple times because it was dirty and she was tired of it. No one was taking care of it. I was a little kid. And knowing how much I loved those fish, like, why would you do that and have no remorse? And she let me know that she poisoned my birds because I was little. I was in like kindergarten, 1st grade when she poisoned my one bird because it you know, it got mites and it was losing its feathers and she was tired of it. And she would watch me cry because I love those. Those were my pets. Those were my friends. I was super, super, super shy, and I didn't hang out with a lot of friends. They were my friends. How could you do that? And then just tell me nonchalantly, like, oh yeah, you know, no one was taking care of them. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. And instead of helping me, it's that kind of thing. And there's a whole series of events that happen. I don't have to share everything, but you get an idea. It's not just, well, you know, we got into an argument. No, my mom has done really cruel things. And until she apologized, I drew a line, and it's been 5 years. She dropped off 2 totes on my door, didn't knock, just left them there, and some baking items. This is the one that I sorted through and kept, and it's got pictures. Like things that I, you know, my son or my daughter, my children have made. Like this is from Eric, a card that, you know, Eric made for my mom. She got rid of that. Pictures of my daughter at graduation. A card that my daughter made her. It's like full of this stuff, you know? Really? Like, and let's see, there's pictures of, you know, my daughter when she had glamour shots done for a scrapbooking event that we went to. All of my stuff from school. You know, this is my stuff from school. All of it. Just got rid of it. You know, there's a picture I drew of Jesus when I was little. It's my picture of Jesus. Let's see. I was in the 8th grade. And not just that, you guys, pictures of my kids, which I didn't have as many done of Eric because I wasn't working, but like all of these pictures of my daughter as a baby, like these are actual photographs. And pictures of me and my mom and my dad. 1984. Like, who does that? Now, I know why my mom is doing this. Because my mom is a narcissist. Pictures. And she's trying to elicit a response from me. This is when my grandpa's brother died, my Uncle Tom. When my great grandma died. The letter that I wrote her on all the things that she did that, you know, I'm done. Literally all of my 4-H stuff, pictures of my kids. That's Cassie for tennis. So obviously I'm gonna keep that stuff. We won't even look at some of my high school pictures. They're terrible. You know, academic achievement when I was in school. I mean, that's fine if you want to get rid of everything. That's fine. 4-H stuff. That's fine. Pictures of my mom and I when this isn't, you can see like this is an old photograph. That's my mom and I. Okay, if you don't want any of that, that's fine. Here's a really old picture of my great-grandparents. And no, she's not dying. She's just trying to be hurtful. Those are my great-grandparents. Franklin and, oh gosh, what is my great-grandma's name? Franklin Carrier and... oh gosh, that'll come to me. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. It's like, okay, if you don't want these, that's fine. I'll keep the pictures. A lot of it I didn't care about. Stuff when my mom was growing up. I don't care. If that, like my graduation, like class in 1992, my graduation stuff. And she had the stickers, or she had these all scrapbooked and tore them out of scrapbooks. That's fine. She's basically trying to be hurtful so that I will respond and I will talk to her. But you know what? I don't care. I'll keep what, here's my Girl Scout sash. I'll keep what she doesn't want. That's fine. Sorry, I was looking for... Harriet Carrier is my great-grandma's name. I knew it would come to me. This is my grandpa when he was in the Navy. It's like, okay, if you don't want... Look, pictures of me, you guys, when I was little in school. You can tell because they're like discolored. That's the original photograph. It's not a copy, that's the original photograph. So she's trying to get rid of me, and that's fine. I refuse to respond. I was 2. Original photograph that she's edged with. Yeah, so, and then I've been dealing with that because as much as I refuse to allow her to be, I refuse to allow her to be, I don't even know how to put that into words, to thinking that she's won and it's hurt me. I refuse to give her that. So If you don't want them, fine, I'll keep them all. And there was tons of, I threw a box away that same size of stuff of when my mom was little. I don't care. I care about my kids, I care about my history, but you know, I'll keep pictures of my parents even though. I was adopted by my dad, so my real dad lives in town. Can't be bothered with me. That's okay. My adopted dad that you saw the picture of, he lives in North Carolina. He also can't be bothered with me, that's fine. So I'm dealing with that. It's hurtful when your parent tries to eliminate you from their life. When you didn't do anything wrong and they flip it on you like it's all your fault. So I've got that, I've got my job. And then I redid my Teddy Bees video because Polly that day was having her kittens. This is where it gets a little tough. So for some reason, she was all over the house. Like, you know how you put this thing together with blankets and everything and it's great? And no, she was all over the house. So I put blankets down on my carpet. I put blankets all over my sectional. Her first one that she had under the table, it was stillborn, and it had some deformity. And then she proceeded to have two more very cream colored ones, and they seemed fine. And she put them in my closet upstairs. There was only like this much room under my clothes, and she put them in there. Because I have two like a shelf on the top and a shelf on the bottom. Yeah, you put shirts on both. And then I was at work that day, and she had the two cream colored ones, the stillborn one. I was texting Dale and I was like, well, just, if you've ever watched 101 Dalmatians, the last Dalmatian puppy was stillborn, and I think they rubbed it. Like, I've seen veterinary shows where they rubbed them, and the puppy came alive, and it made 101 puppies, you know. So I was like, I've seen this before, rub it, see if you can't, you know, stimulate its heart and stuff to get moving, and maybe it'll come alive. But it didn't work. And that was sad. Then she had another little runt while I was at work, and Dale came over to get me and brought me home for lunch so I could see the kittens and everything. And then she had another little one. It was a very dark red color. It was very pretty, darker than Gingy, almost kind of like a brownish red. You probably won't be able to see him moving the one cat moving the French door, but yeah, and he was deformed. She left him bloody and wet and cold on the one set of blankets, different than the rest. And he had two paws. One had a claw, the other one had nothing. It was kind of like a stump. And his back legs were fused together, so they would move like this together. They weren't independent. It's not like one, they weren't right. Plus the joints in them were wrong. I didn't mind. I was still gonna take care of them. I cleaned him off and put him with the rest so he could stay warm. And then I went back to work, and she had two more. They were like black and white and orange. And yeah, so when I was doing my video, she had the black and white and orange ones, the calico ones, but we weren't sure if she was still laboring. We weren't sure what was happening. And I filmed my Teddy Bees video, and with all that excitement in the background, and I went upstairs, and all the kittens were in my closet, except the stillborn, obviously. So there were 6, and one was a runt, a little orange runt, and then the one that was deformed, his legs weren't right, and he didn't, his one foot had like a pincher almost. It was like a foot divided in half, kind of like a pincher, you know, a nail, a claw on one and a claw on the other. So I laid them all on the floor on a blanket, and I tried to get her to nurse them because she wasn't nursing them. And then I cried, and I'm a religious person, spiritual I should say, and I just said to God, you know, I trust you. I hope that she's gonna feed them and nurse them, but I trust you with whatever the outcome. Because I mean, I had some friends that were interested in possibly taking the kittens, so it's not like I would have been stuck with 6 more kittens. So I was pretty sure that I could rehome them. And when Penny, her daughter, Penny, had Charlie, the first one was half as small as Charlie. And she was born like 2.5 days before Charlie. And Penny wasn't nursing her, and she would put her in the closet, and Polly would go in the closet and pull her out and snuggle with her. And so Polly's very, very, very loving, and she is the mom of Penny and Mike and Cream. And she was nursing those little kittens, those little fluffy little kittens out on my back porch. And it was negative temperatures at Christmas time. Negative, like negative 10, 12. I was like, they're gonna freeze to death. They don't go anywhere but my porch. And I had all these blankets and things out there, but and then if you share that kind of thing on Facebook, then everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks you should do this and that, and they think that like you have this unlimited supply of money and you can just go do all of these things. And thank you for the ideas, but I can't always go buy stuff, take them to the vet, do all this, do all that, you know, go buy hay and all this stuff. Like, it's not as simple as you think it is. And so I opened my door and they walked in along with Jasper, who's not related to them. He'd been living on my porch since July, on a dog bed I had out there. And they all walked in, and I thought maybe some Facebook friends would want them. No, I got stuck with them all, which is fine. We loved them. And they're still all here. Yeah, so she's a very loving cat, and she loved, you know, Penny would take Mabel, that's the little one that didn't make it. She would take Mabel upstairs, and Polly would bring her back down and snuggle with her. So Polly's a very loving cat. But these kittens, one was stillborn and one was deformed that she left aside and probably was going to let it die on its own. I don't know. Normally they clean them right off, and she left them all bloody and wet. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Maybe because he's deformed, but I'll just clean him up and I'll put him with the others and it'll be fine. And they were all, other than the deformed one, they were all a very muted color, and I'll include pictures. I've never seen cats that color. Like, it wasn't just black, but they were like grayish black. Or it wasn't orange, it was cream. Except for the deformed one that I call Toffee. And I'm not even sure he'd have survived or that he would have ever walked, because he crawled on his belly kind of like a snake, because he didn't really have claws and things. You know, one claw here, one claw there. One was just a literal stump. It had no digits on it whatsoever, no claws, no nothing. And his back legs were fused together, so they literally moved like this. it was kind of heartbreaking. But I loved him and I snuggled him, and she just wouldn't nurse them. They would try to nurse and then she'd get up and she'd walk away. It's the same thing Penny did with Mabel. And Mabel starved to death. But when Charlie was born, right before Mabel starved to death, because I wasn't sure if she was nursing her or not, because sometimes it looked like maybe she was, and then sometimes she'd get up and walk away, and I thought, well, it's because she's only like 8 months old. She's little. She doesn't know what she's doing. And Polly, it's my first time with kittens. I don't know what I'm doing. And Charlie was born, and then Mabel was gone the next morning, and she hid her in the closet, and I pulled her out and had Dale bury her and all that. So Polly was doing the same thing where she would walk away and she didn't want to nurse them. And I just said, God, I trust you with the outcome. And at work, I went to work the next day because it's too stressful for me. I can't sit, there's no way I'd be able to focus on work. And I wanted to get my mind off of it anyway, because it was stressful and it was sad, and I hate all of that. Because they're just little innocent beings, and I hate that they starve to death, and what's the point of feeding them if she's not going to take care of them? Just let go and let God. And so I went to work, and Dale let me know that the little runt had passed away. And I was like, but he's such a little scrapper last night. Like, I don't understand it. Like 6 o'clock at night, he was right in with the rest. The first one I thought would go was Toffee, because Toffee was deformed and couldn't crawl the same way that the others could. They're always born with their eyes closed for about a week, so it's not like they can see or hear. Their little ears are folded over and closed, and about 2-3 weeks later they open up and then they can hear and all that stuff. But so I remade the little bed in the office area beside the desk for her, and I put all of the kittens together on it, and that's where Penny spent most of her time nursing Charlie and stuff. And of course she'd bring him down and nurse him. They drag him all over the house. I don't get that. But during the night, Polly had moved them all to the bathroom closet where I have 2 racks of clothes too, like winter and then summer. I have a lot of my work clothes in there, like the winter stuff on the bottom and like more of the summer stuff on top, because I'm in the bathroom. It's easier that way. And Dale and I split the closet in the bedroom, so one side is mine, one side is his. And so she put them in that closet that has like this much space underneath. And some of my dresses are longer, but thankfully they're on the other side. And their meows, because they were hungry and they were cold, and she moved them from this warm blanket in this warm room to the cold bathroom with a linoleum floor. And I was like, what is she doing? Like, I don't understand. And she would get upset. She would kind of like hiss and scratch, because at one point I tried to get a washcloth and put a cold compress on her. I'm like, does she have mastitis? Like, is it that she can't nurse? So I tried to do a warm compress, and when I was getting the washcloth, which it's those shelves with all my towels and washcloths and everything is on the opposite side from the clothing, and she like hissed and swiped at me like stay away from them. And I was just like, this is so unlike you. And so I put the warm compress on her, and she still wasn't nursing him. But as I was getting ready for work that morning, and they were all alive. Have you ever watched the movie like Shutter Island? Well, let me refer to that movie later. So there's another movie that I watched. It's called The Power of One. It's got Morgan Freeman in it, and it's about apartheid in South Africa. So when they're all kind of crying and miserable in the closet, and they just want fed and they just want snuggled, they sounded like they were like the children in that movie that got locked in a church, and they were all screaming because someone locked them in the church and set fire to the church in the movie. And that's what it reminded me of. It made my ovaries hurt made every nerve ending in my body hurt because I just wanted her to nurse them. I wanted to pick them up. I wanted to cuddle them. We're in and out of the bathroom, like why she thought that was a good idea anyway. But before I went to work, I drug them out of the closet. Excuse me. And I put them all in a blanket. And Dale said while I was at work, he checked on them occasionally, and the little red, we called him Little Red. He was a little runt, little red tiger, and orange tiger, and he had passed. And I was like, that's so weird, because he was a little scrapper, just as determined as all the rest of them. Like, that's so weird to me. But I was like, oh, that's sad. Like, and then, you know, he's telling me about it at lunch, and I was crying. I'm like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. We're in a pizza place. Like, stop talking about it. And then before I came home, he let me know that, trying to think who was next. I think one of the cream colored ones and one of the black and white ones. And the black and white one looked like something had gone for its jugular, but they were gone. And that black and white one, it didn't have as much orange on it. I called that one. The not as much orange one was sorry, my thoughts are all. The cream colored one was Cappuccino. I named them off after caramel and drinks. The little stillborn one I named Caramello, like the caramel candy bar, because nothing should come into the world and go without a name. They all deserved a name. And then Oreo was the more black and white one, but it looked like something had gone for its jugular. And I was like, and Dale's like, I think she's killing them. And I was like, that's so bizarre, because that's so not like her. She's like literally the most loving cat. Even with the one that Penny didn't want, you know, even with Charlie. It was just in her own kittens. Like, she nursed them for a long time. Like, it just didn't compute in my head. And I was like, well, maybe one of the boys, because, you know, maybe Jasper, like, they get a little territorial and they can get a little weird, and maybe, but Jasper's like the nicest guy. He would befriend little kitten that got abandoned by its mom on my porch, and he was always snuggling with it. They're loving cats. Like, they don't have a mean bone in their body. Like, how weird is that? But, or maybe they were playing around and didn't realize, and I was trying to make excuses. But he didn't say that the one cream colored one, Cappuccino, was bloody. I was like, well, that's weird. So then there was Toffee left, and there was another black and white one left with a little bit more orange, and then the last cream colored one. And I got home and he went upstairs to check, and he found the other black and white one that Polly wasn't letting him near the body, but he's like, I think it's passed. He picked it up with Penny's calling to Charlie. Talking to each other. You'll probably see, yeah, see, she's calling to him, and he's like, but, and it had blood in its back leg and its head. And I was like, he's like, I definitely think she's killing them, and then doesn't want me near the body. And I was like, and he carried it down, and I could see the blood on the paper towel. I was like, this is so unreal to me. I don't know what's happening. But he had to go, I forget, I think he was going to an appointment or a funeral service or something. And I was just like, I could hear Toffee. Toffee was behind the couch. He said all day that she was moving them places, and then they would be deceased. So for a while there were several behind the couch. That's where he found Little Red. But Toffee was back there, and I could hear he cried different because he was deformed and he wasn't quite right. He made more of a raspy sound than the rest, and I knew it was him, and I couldn't see him when I first looked over. And I heard the last cream-colored kitten upstairs crying, and I was like, oh. And she heard it, and she turned, and she went up the stairs. And I listened, and I didn't hear him crying anymore. It was just, I was like, okay, well, maybe she's nursing him, finally. And then she brought him down, and he looked lifeless. And I was like, oh no, Polly. And she brought him under the table, and she laid with him. And I was like, well, maybe I saw that wrong. Maybe she's nursing him. And then she got up and she repositioned herself and laid back down for a while. It looked like, you know, she was snuggling with him and, checking on him or whatever. And after maybe 15 minutes, she got up and went out to the kitchen. And I crawled under the dining room table. And I picked him up. And he had blood up here. And I was like, you murdered him. I was so mad at her and horrified that she would go upstairs and murder him, bring him down and lay with his dead body. And I was like, that's horrifying. You're a monster. I don't know if I can forgive you. Like, how could you? And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. He was my favorite one too. He was Latte, was his name. And I could hear Toffee again. And I was like, you're not going to kill that one. I'm not going to let you. And I know he's deformed and I know he's not going to make it, but at least you won't kill him. And I went behind the couch and I picked him up and he was hiding under the register. There's probably like this much room under my baseboard water heaters. And I picked him up and I held him in my hands until midnight. And he would cry and she would look at me. But she didn't do anything about it. Like when she came back from the kitchen to get a latte and he was gone, she was sniffing and I was holding him. I had to do some research as I was holding Toffee. And I wrapped, cappuccino up, or latte up, and in our downstairs freezer, it's empty, and you just put him in a baggie, and so that Dale could bury him later. I wasn't obviously gonna run right out there and bury him, but I didn't want the body to get gross. So did that, put him in the empty freezer, and sat and I held Toffee and I did some research. And apparently, mothers can smell when their kittens have an infection, and they'll destroy their kittens. Now, some of the mother cats will eat them. Thank God she didn't do that. I'd have been so mortified. Apparently, mother cats can tell when they have birth defects, which 2 of them did, and 1 was stillborn. And they'll know if they can't live or if they have severe defects, and they'll kill them. Kind of like a mercy kind of a thing, because they're not going to grow up and they're not going to be okay, and they might be sickly and they might die anyway. And what's the point? I would have rather that she let them starve versus murdering them. That's still horrifying to me. And I still probably wouldn't have believed it. I just thought Dale was mistaken. I probably still wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't watched her hear the cry, go up the stairs, it get quiet, and her bring the lifeless body down and lay with it. Now, I will give her the credit that she laid with him, I think out of remorse and sadness that she couldn't have her kittens. And she would come up to us and still want love, and she would still We found her several times. I can insert some pictures with Charlie, with her arm around Charlie, snuggling Charlie, licking Charlie. She's a loving cat. I just think that she sensed that they weren't genetically okay, and I don't think Jasper was the dad. I think one of her boys was the dad, even though we never saw that happen. When you're sleeping, who knows? And I know people have said lock them in different rooms. You guys, you don't understand how small my house is. I have a half bath with doors. I have my living room, dining room, and I have my upstairs is the office. That's where they hang out all the time. I have a bathroom, my son's room, and a lot of times he always has the door shut because they can go up in the attic and crawl on the walls and stuff. He has a game room up there, and he doesn't want them getting stuck in the walls, and neither do I. That door doesn't completely shut to the attic, so, you know, it's like I can't... they're not comfortable in my bedroom. So it's not like I can just separate them. It's not that easy. My house is very small. So I appreciate the ideas, but it's not as easy as you think it is. They do have, the boys all have an appointment, which Gingy's fixed, but besides Charlie, he has to wait till he's 6 months old, but the Jasper and Mike and Kareem all have appointments to be fixed, but we have been struggling for literal months trying to get into the Anna shelter because I don't think you guys understand. My vet, when all of the vets locally want $300 just to look at them, and that's all their shots and a checkup and rabies and that stuff. It's not even to fix them. I can't afford that with that's $900, you guys. I don't just have $900. So it's easy to say what I should and shouldn't do, but it's not that easy when you're living it. So we find the Anna shelter is just so overwhelmed with people with cats that, you know, call back in a month, and then they wouldn't return your call, and they wouldn't pick up the phone. And here, come to find out, a girl that I work with, she literally drove to the other town to them, and here the veterinarian there is pregnant, ready to have her baby, and is probably gonna have to shut the shelter down while she's on maternity leave because she can't get anyone to take over for her. And that's sad because it's one of the places that people go, and they're only $65 plus they get their rabies shot for free for, you know, each boy. And that I can afford, but I can't afford $300 each. That's crazy. If it was just one cat, sure, but not like 3. And that's not even including the girls yet. We're just mostly worried about the boys, keep the boys from getting anyone else. So I think, unfortunately, they were, you know, mom and son. That's a horrible thought as well, but they're animals, so, I mean, brother and sister will, in reading. Yeah. So luckily, Charlie looks just like Jasper. He's the only gray tiger, and Charlie's a gray tiger, so. I mean, Mike is gray and white, but he's a different kind of gray than Jasper. Charlie's definitely Jasper. And he was healthy and everything. So September 14th, I have an appointment to get those guys fixed, and that'll solve my problems with that, and then we'll save up, get the girls fixed, they'll be done nursing and all of that stuff. And it'll be fine. But that's a lot of stuff. So if you've ever seen the movie Shutter Island, what he goes through with his wife and their children that brought Leonardo DiCaprio's character to the point that he was, reminded me of that movie. That movie was going through my head the whole time. I'm like, you murdered you murdered him, and you're laying with his dead body. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? You're some kind of an animal. And I was so scared for her to be around Charlie before I did the research, because I didn't understand exactly. Well, Toffee. So I knew if I'd have put him down, she'd have taken off with him, and Mercy killed him, I guess, murdered him. So I held him until midnight, and I was exhausted. I cried so much, and like the gut-wrenching kind of cries. Because they're innocent, and they didn't deserve the fate that happened upon them. They just didn't deserve it, and it makes me so sad. And they were so adorable. Even if they were muted, kind of pastel kind of colors, they were still beautiful, and they were sweet, and I loved them, and I snuggled with them because she would walk away from them, and I'd pick them up, and I would snuggle them. So Toffee, I was exhausted, and I thought for sure he would pass away. So I had a little box that someone had sent me wax in, a little blue box, and I put a washcloth in it, and I put him in it, and he was so little, I wrapped him up in the washcloth, and he looked so snug as a bug in a rug. He looked so peaceful and content. And I pushed stuff aside in my top dresser drawer, and I put his little box, and he's all snuggled up in his washcloth in the box. Open, obviously, the top was open, it's just the sides were up. He couldn't really crawl anyway. So it's not like he could roll over and crawl out. He kind of had to slide. And I put him in my top dresser drawer all night. And I woke up, and I worked from home that day, and I recorded the second part of my Teddy Bees video. And I left him in the box in my dresser. I checked on him when I got up, and he was still alive. He looked all peaceful and stuff, and you would stroke his face, and he would just move, or his little mouth would move, and I was like, "Aw, you're still alive." And as much as you want to go get a little bottle of kitten milk, and you want to try to help him, I knew he probably would never walk because of his fused legs, and he didn't. He had stumps on some of his paws, and he had claws, and with 2 claws on it, and I'm like, he's not gonna be okay. I don't even know if he can walk. I don't know if he can use the restroom. That's not a quality of life, I guess. And if I hadn't have interfered anyway, she would have just done away with him anyway. Trying not to cry, you guys. And so he was peaceful. He wasn't crying. He wasn't doing anything. He would just move. It's like he was sleeping peacefully, and he was just, and he would respond to the touch. But then he'd go back to his peacefulness. And I left him in the little box in my drawer, and he didn't move. He didn't, he just moved his head or whatever, his mouth. And I would check on him on a break, and I would check on him at lunch, and, my afternoon break, and then after work, and every so many hours I would check on him, and I would stroke his face, and his little mouth would move, or his little head would move and respond to your touch. And then he'd just go right back to his peacefulness. And I'll insert pictures. He was alive in the pictures. And how cute he was in his little box. And I left him in my dresser drawer. And Saturday, maybe around 1 o'clock, that morning I touched his face, and he responded. But around 1 o'clock, I touched him, and he didn't respond anymore. And I picked him up, and he was gone. Certain things start to get a little stiff, but he was still soft. It's gross. I know, I'm sorry. So I've been going through a lot lately. So forgive me. that I take the Scentsy stuff a little bit more seriously than I normally do. Forgive me that I whine about my Scentsy Club. And yes, I'll take some cheese with that wine. I actually love cheese. But I like sweet wine and it doesn't go with sweet wine. So maybe I'll eat the cheese later. I know you're just joking, and I know you don't know what else is going on in someone else's life that makes them create a video like I did with my spoiler video. And it was raw. That was my raw emotion. I was angry, and I tend to, as a coping mechanism, use sarcasm. And I joke because if I can make it funny, if I can laugh about it, then it doesn't hurt as much, I guess. So I was jokingly very snarky about Graham Cracker Crunch, and yeah, maybe I should pay attention to my Scentsy Club a little bit more, but I took for granted that when Scentsy said August, whatever it is, 13th or whatever, they meant it. Like, who would honestly keep checking every day to see if they meant it or not? Most people are not going to check every day and be like, well, I should make sure that they mean what they said. That's unrealistic, and you guys know that. You're not going to check every day to make sure that they meant what they said. I changed the date, it said what it said, and I moved on, and I've been busy with all of the stuff going on in my life. And I didn't check back, and I don't check all of my emails because there's so much junk email. And yeah, maybe I should be more, check more. But Scentsy should also too. It's not all my responsibility to make sure Scentsy does what they're supposed to do. And I was upset because of my mother clearly doesn't want me. My other two parental figures don't want me. They don't call, they don't talk to me. It's fine with them that they haven't talked with me in 5 years. They have zero desire to make amends with me. I'm worried that, am I going to have a job? Or am I going to end up like my friends? What is going on? Everything seems so unstable in my life, and I'm sorry that I got upset about stupid old Graham Cracker Crunch. But I honestly think that's more my favorite bar than even Snuggle Up. It became my favorite bar, and I saved that bar in my club, and it inadvertently, through no mistake of my own, all I did was change the date that Scentsy said that I could do, and it was, they dropped it from my club because they still tried to charge me anyway. I was like how is, that's not okay. I wouldn't have had the money. Even if I would have looked, I wouldn't have had the money. It was gone. I believed them. It wasn't until next month. I believed them, and I spent it on other things. Most people would do that kind of a thing. Like, I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have this huge, savings account. Should I? Yeah, I really should, but I don't. Not that I should have to explain. I overshare. It's okay. I invite criticism and snarky comments, I guess, because I overshare. My best friend died 5 years ago. I used to tell her everything, and I don't have her. I don't have parents. I don't have my best friend. Dale's gone a lot because everybody needs Dale, and Dale does funerals, and Dale does meetings, and Dale does music school, and everybody wants Dale for stuff. So he's gone, and sometimes he's so busy with all of the other things, he's not listening to the wax thing. I mean, he tries, but he loves to smell through them all with me, but sometimes his mind is other places, and he's not really listening to my wax woes. So I share with you guys. I will always love Scentsy. And maybe because they have a special place in my heart, because they brought me to you guys, is why I got a little more at a raw time, and a bunch of things are going on. And I got a little more agitated and upset than normal. And yeah, that's kind of out of character. Most of the time stuff bounces off of me, but I guess I'm a little more overly sensitive to things. And I got a little upset. Now, the good news, since he did get a hold of me, they did want me to name all the bars that dropped. Lucky for me, God in his infinite grace worked this out in my favor. I had written, you know how I do my cards. I write all of my stuff on my cards. And I was going to do a club edit video with you guys. And I didn't get around to it. I was like, well, it can wait now until, you know, I switched my club date, so it wasn't going to ship, and it pushed it out a month, so it can wait. I don't have to do it right now. And by then I'll know what bars are and aren't coming back, and everything will be fine. I had all those cards written out, and lucky for me, I could go through those cards and email them back exactly the ones that dropped from my club. Could you imagine? If I hadn't prepped for that video, I'd have had no way of knowing. I shouldn't have to screenshot my clubs every single time. And I know for a fact that they have the list because when my daughter had an issue with her club and things got dropped, they named it. They named the bars. I didn't have to. So they have a list of it, and why they made me go through those hoops. It's fine. It didn't matter because by the grace of God, I had them on cards and I could do it. And then they've come back and said that they got the go-ahead to put the bars back in my club. So by the grace of God, I have Graham Cracker Crunch coming back to my club and the other bars. And I apologize that I behaved out of character. I apologize. It's not normally my character. I apologize that I was very raw, that I wasn't more guarded. I apologize that I overshare and invite criticism. It's okay. I mean, I appreciate someone pointing out that I was a little too raw and it was disturbing almost. I'm grateful that that person let me know that so that I could guard myself against doing that. And recognize that, like, whoa, I guess I kind of am a little bit overly sensitive, and scale that back. It's just wax. It's just Scentsy. It's not, although it's a huge part of my life, it's okay. Part of why it upsets me is because I'm in Warren, Pennsylvania. Everybody here loves spice, so we love red hot cinnamon and we love bakery. And I still to this day have customers, local customers, ask me about almond croissant. Did they bring it back? No. It's gone. They like, and lucky for me, the one girl that really loves locally Lavender Cotton did make a Scentsy club just for Lavender Cotton. And she still got that in her club because the year before she'd asked me, and I was like, they let go of it for the spring, summer, into the fall. So I hope it comes back. Thank God it did. She put it in a club. That worked out. But they seem to be doing away with the things that my local people want. And they're losing interest. They don't want to buy the warmers all the time because they have a couple of them. And they want the wax. And they're doing away with the stuff that the people in my geographical area are drawn to. And that's upsetting because people don't want to party with me locally. And they're the ones that do most of my parties. Because what's the point when there's no wax that they're interested in? There's Cinnamon Bear, but you know what I mean? And everybody's struggling since COVID and the price hikes and all that stuff. Like, everyone's struggling, and I get it, and it's fine. But it was upsetting because they eliminated vanilla waves that people like. Me included. And that one, I lost that in my club, and I can only be angry at myself, not Scentsy. So that's on me. Trying to think, almond croissant. Trying to think sugar cookie is another one that I get asked about. It's gone. which I can tell them, Scentsy Club, you get a brick. Most of my local people are like, I don't want that much wax. Like, what are you, crazy? My only people that are interested are the diehard wax fanatics like us that do the YouTube channels, like you guys that watch, that are not my local people. I don't even think my locals watch my YouTube channel. My one friend. Other than that, I don't think anybody else watches them. Sometimes, occasionally, if I post them to Facebook, maybe I should post them to Facebook more. Rosie, and she's covered. So it's upsetting as a consultant when I'm losing half of my business, which is my locals that want the spicy and there's only a handful, or they want the bakery and there's not a great selection anymore, or the same olds that they don't want blueberry cheesecake. They don't want, I love baked apple pie. I need to get a brick of that. I love that. I even dropped Jack's Obsession because I love baked apple pie. I know, call me crazy. I actually like baked apple pie more. And I thought, I have Crumb Top, which I lost from my club, but they're going to put back. I was like, I could put that with baked apple pie and it'd be perfect, right? It would be kind of like a baked apple pie or an apple crumble. Stuff like that. And, you know, they iced pine. They liked iced pine. Iced pine is gone. Icicles and evergreen. That they like the sweeter pine. They're a lot like me. They do love maple apple bourbon, which I don't like that one. But my locals do like that one, thank God. Because I had someone ask me about maple apple bourbon. When I get my catalogs, I'm going to get her a catalog. Caramel apple craze. I don't love it, but they do. So thank God we still have that. But what are those? Like fruity? Maple apple bourbon woodsy? So they did bring some, but not enough that they're not as excited. Those are just like ones that they add to, not ones that they always just, hey, you know, if you've got so many bars of it, that's okay. My friends on here that went to Scentsy Family Reunion let me know that even though bakery is the third highest category with Scentsy, it's only 16% of the people that were at SFR. I'm sorry, I'm getting a tickle from talking too much and crying, and 16% of, let's just say in general, that 16% is the actual way that the categories would fall. From a business standpoint, I can understand what they're doing. The two highest categories are fruity, which is my least favorite category, and fresh. I do enjoy fresh. The least favorite categories are spice. What is that? Like 5% of the people at SFR, and I'm like, that's like my second favorite. Well, that's not. Well, I don't know. I'm tied. Floral and bakery are so tied. So tied. And then spice, those are my three favorite categories. And yeah, I'm like in the low percentage of fans. So I'm grateful that people shared that with me so that I can put everything into a business perspective. If I'm craving bakery and Scentsy doesn't have it and I'm tired of the same 5 cents, unfortunately, I can go support wax vendors. Because my clubs get too heavy and it's too much of a burden that they keep making us club all of the bakery bars. They're coming out in LTOs and that's great. Oh, maraschino sugar cookie was another one. I'm like, I was so undone that I lost that. I have a brick. So that lessened the blow slightly, but I was like, they're putting it back, so it's fine. In a way, it's kind of nice to support small businesses that are vendors, and some of them are friends with us on YouTube, which it didn't even connect to me that until she emailed me. I won a giveaway for Second and Spruce. I was like, are you serious? I never win stuff like this, like ever. No one draws my name. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, and so I won this giveaway. And it wasn't until Erica emailed me, I was like, Erica Kane. Like, I've seen that name on YouTube. Didn't she do like a round robin? I mean, I wasn't a part of it, but I was like, wait, I think I know that name. Are you serious? Like, someone that we connect to on YouTube is making wax. And Beth from Lavender and Speckles, I've seen her comment. And I'm just like, wow. So honestly, a small business owner that's trying to make it like me, trying to make it with Scentsy, I'm never going to be the greatest. I'm never going to be the most popular person on YouTube, and that's okay. If I can support them because I know how it feels to struggle, I'm happy to support them. And if they have the bakery instead, and I'm tired of blueberry cheesecake, baked apple pie, and, I don't like, unfortunately, I'm one of the people that gets the lilac sugar, and it doesn't, my brain can't deal with the lilac with the lemon drizzle cake. My brain just is like, no. Yeah. So I can only, because I'm not having as many parties, because people here are like, there's not that much I want. Nah, I'm good. I don't want to ask my friends when even I am not that excited about your stuff anymore. And I don't blame them. And, so, I'll just, help support someone that's struggling to make it, and get my bakery fixed there. And I don't have to club every single thing. I need to stop. It's okay to let go. It's okay to, it's okay to mourn the kittens, who didn't deserve their fate. But it's okay to let go. They're in a better place. Toffee couldn't live in my top dresser drawer forever. It's okay to let go. It's okay that my parents don't want to have anything to do with me. It's fine. I have my children. I have Dale. I have you guys. I have God. It's fine. It's fine. If I can hang on to the few bars that mean a lot to me, that's enough for me. So we'll go through a club edit sometime. And I think I can let go with some of them. Like, I let go of Saint Nickerdoodle because it's very apples, cream cheese, and cookie to me. And I truly am the weirdo that loves baked apple pie just as much. And I can mix, stuff with it and make it just like Saint Nickerdoodle and be just as happy. So there are certain ones that, that I've let go, that I can let go. I cannot for the life of me remember if I still have toasted marshmallow in my quarterly, because my quarterly club was okay. But you guys, long story short, just be kind. Be kind in the comments. And I try not to take anything personally. Sometimes I do. I try not to take it personally. I try to joke around and be like, they're just teasing, they're trying to poke fun. Yes, I'm whining. No, I shouldn't be whining. Calm down, Melissa. It's not life or death. It's fine. So you lost a couple wax bars. It's fine. So not that many people want to party with you this year. Maybe next year, Everything goes through cycles, and, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I only ever joined to make money off what I was going to buy anyway. So I'm back to square one, kind of, with a few YouTube customers. Thank you. Thank you. You literally have no idea how much you mean to me, because without you, it would literally just be me. You have no idea. You help me save the few bars of my club that I'm going to have. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you, seriously. You never know how much you really truly mean to someone And you do. You mean everything to me, even if I don't send out wax samples every single month anymore, because it's hard. I don't have the extra coming in. As people aren't buying as much, and that's okay, and everything's okay, and life is fine, and I'll be okay. But I just wanted to explain why I was more edgy than normal. Why I was so raw, and I will try very hard to guard myself against that in the future, and not get so personally devastated over, so what if Scentsy doesn't bring something back, you know? I don't know why I make it so life, and I think because I loved it so much, it's sad. And who was it? Someone was saying, oh gosh, who was it? Maybe it's Patricia Gates, that was saying just because the YouTube community likes bakery doesn't mean everyone in Scentsy likes bakery. And I was like, you know, that's a really good point. It feels like all of us here are bakery fans, just like all of my local customers, and it feels like this is my world. But you sometimes forget that all of the Scentsy customers that are on YouTube and all that stuff, not every, you know, it's only 16% of the third highest category of all their business. So it makes sense. Why keep bars that only 16% of your fan base loves, and they can club them if they want them, but we got to take care of the highest categories, which are fruity and fresh. So makes sense. I get it. I love that at least in the new releases, they toss us some bones, I guess. But yeah, everything with Polly and the kittens and all of that kind of puts it, and you know, responses from you guys kind of puts it all into perspective. So I appreciate that. I very highly appreciate your compassion and your kindness, those that have been so incredibly kind and compassionate. I appreciate your patience and your grace to let me go through some things personally. And I'm sorry that it bled into my videos. I'll definitely try to guard against that, because it's just wax. It's just wax. They're not people and pets, and it's just wax. It makes it easier because, you know, since he's putting them back, so it makes it easier. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for them correcting what went wrong there. Not my fault. Yeah. So just be kind, be thoughtful. You don't know what someone else is going through, and just be mindful that people watch you in the comments. And if you're being unkind, it prevents people from showing their face, like me. I just put myself out there. I live in a bubble most of the time anyway, so my regular life is a bubble until the hour or so that I come on a video with you guys. That expands my bubble a little bit. And then the comments, so I'm just, yeah. So I appreciate you guys for watching, for being a part of my channel, for understanding, and hopefully you'll accept my apology and you'll still tune in, and we'll still have fun and we'll giggle. And I do joke with a lot of sarcasm. I get by in life with sarcasm. My daughter does too, so just, you know, I'll just try to keep it light sarcasm, not like angry, angry sarcasm. And I am excited, so excited to be getting my new releases from Scentsy. I got Halloween. I got all that stuff coming, and that's always exciting. New wax smells are my favorite thing in the whole wide world. So yeah, and then maybe this will just afford me more grace to buy stuff in the catalog that I normally can't anyway. So yeah, and I think with my club, I'm contemplating switching them so that they're all one time versus 3 different clubs. Because I don't know, sometimes that gets hard. Like if I have a couple bars I can, you know, change, I might. We'll see. We'll see what the cuts come through as. So thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for chatting with me and talking, letting me talk. And we'll go before she blows your eardrums out. She's a bird. So thanks, guys, and I appreciate you and love you, and thank you for the grace and compassion, and just be nice. All right, guys. Bye.